Letter number 626 on the joy of owning nothing. I like the idea of minimize. When we know too many things, our lives get cluttered. But if you are really think about it, we actually own nothing in life. We are just visitors who get to spend time on this very planet that spins around in the middle of space. I sold my car a few weeks ago, and for a moment I felt a bit sad, but I didn't use my car that much because almost everything I do and need is my city. I can use any type of transportation to get around, from using my bicycle to grabbing a car or scooter on one of those sharing apps. When I sold my car, I quickly realized it was never my car anyway, so there's no need to feel bad. I just got to use it for a few years in exchange for money. You cannot lose anything you never owned. I was not always like that. When I sold the first car that I bought, I really had to say goodbye. It was emotionally difficult to say goodbye to an object. It sounds varied, but I really felt connected with that car. I had so many good memories of it. The car was there when my first girlfriend and I took a road trip. I drove my first car to the tattoo shop where I got my first tattoo. I drove it to college. The car was there when I had many fun nights out with my friends. I kept the car for a few years and sold it when I was about 20. The car was so beat up that it cost me hundreds to keep it on the road. I couldn't afford it anymore, but because I was not attached to my car, I could not summon to the emotional fortitude to sell it myself. I did create the online ads, but I asked my father if he would sell it to the person who wanted to buy the car. I said, I don't even want to be here when you sell it. I am going away. When I come back, the car will be gone. It was really a dramatic scene. I even wrote an article about the car and published it on some hip hop forums that also published lifestyle blogs. It was one of those yearly websites that had a combination of news, community, and articles that normal people would submit. The website doesn't exist anymore, but I do remember that I somehow compared my first car to my first girlfriend. She did not like being compared to a car, and now I can definitely understand why. But to my 20 years old self, it all made sense. I thought the car was a piece of me. Of course, we know that's known since the Stoic philosopher Epictetus shared really insightful thoughts on his concept. He said you cannot really lose anything because you don't own anything in the first place, not the stuff you have. Your spouse or your property, they are given to you for temporary keep. So never say I have lost something. You just returned it. We really don't own anything, even if you live like a minimalist. You still have no possessions instead of a few positions That's why I no longer worry about how much stuff I own. It's not something I worry about because I know I actually own nothing. We just get to enjoy nothing as long we are on this planet. That's not only true for objects but also for true for people. As Epictetus wrote, your spouse died, he has returned. That's probably the most extreme example, but the quite gets the point across. You don't want to make everything about yourself. When we lose people, we think about everything that we are missing, but that's not a good way to think about loss. That doesn't mean the Stoics didn't mourn, they simply had a way to explain death. To have people in our lives in a privilege, something to not take for granted. We should enjoy the company of our loved ones and avoid becoming complained about the time we spend with each other. At any moment, a person can return to the universe or heaven or whatever we believe in. Epictetus said we should think of all the things in life as a hotel stay. You just don't know exactly when it's time to check out, so never forget to enjoy your stay. Letter number 27. On living a conscious life. It is shameful not to walk but to be credited and suddenly dashed in the midst of orderly confusions to ask how did I came to this point. That's what the Stoic philosopher Seneca wrote in a letter to his god friend Lucilius. Think about it. Where are you in life? And what led you to this point? Most of us don't have a good answer. I have learned to ask myself that questions all the time. How did I come to this point? The first time I asked myself this, it was like a whole new world opened up to me. Until my late 20s, 20s I didn't take enough time to reflect on my decisions. In fact, I didn't even have an answer when I started asking myself what questions. Seneca posed. What I found out when I really focused on this question was that many things in my life were an accident. I just stumbled into situations, and I am not alone. On of the most common answer you get when you ask people how did you get into this work is I didn't know. I guess it just happened naturally. By naturally, we actually mean it was an accident and we have no clue why we pursued a certain career in 2010. I started a company in the professional laundry industry with my dad. How did I get into it? My dad was working in that business for 2 decades. How did he get into it? Totally by accident. My dad had gone back to school to change careers. He pursued a degree in mechanical engineering, and one of his professors knew someone who worked at a large laundry company that served hospitals and other healthcare institutions. They suggested he tried to get a job there, and he did know 30 years later he is still active in the industry, first as an employee and now as a business owner. I have a lot of respect for how my father started with nothing and worked himself up to this point. He went through a lot of shit to get where he is today. But when I asked, did did you want to get into this industry, his answer was no, just I like 99% of the population. He had no clue that it even was an industry. I am my father's case. It turned out well because he actually became passionate about the laundry business, and still he just wanted to have his own company. I have learned many lessons from my father's story. The most important thing is that you need to love your work. That wasn't true for me in the laundry business. So, after 4 years of working together, I started paving my own path. I realized that it was a total accident that I got into the industry, and that caused inner frustrations. But at the same time, I also didn't know what I really wanted to do. So many of us are in that varied space. We don't enjoy our work, but we don't know what else we want to pursue. Through reasoning and reflecting, I realized I needed to make a change. I have enjoyed learning and teaching, but I never wanted to pursue the traditional path. As Seneca said, from regions you will learn what to attempt and how. You will not to do nothing by accident. I knew I wanted to do things in my own way instead of working for a school of or university. So I started teaching online classes for motivated professionals, which is something I am very passionate about now. And then I work on my writing class, which I open to students about once or twice a year. It's hard work and requires a lot of energy, but it also gives me pleasure to create new materials, and even more pleasure when my students actually use two materials to improve their lives and careers. The other day, one of my students said that she started making sales almost every day while I sleep. That's amazing. Remember to pave your own path as you make the important decisions in your life. I in your life think things through and make conscious choice. The career you will pursue the partner you will settle down with, the friends you call your family, the place where you live, etc. Your life should not be an accident. While most things in life are unexpected, we must continually ask ourselves, how did I come to this point? That's the only way we can guarantee the good life that we actually want. First, start seeing yourself as an athlete. Your job is to perform in this game called life, and to perform you need to think a plan and stamina. You create your plan based on the wisdom you have acquired at some point. We all know what it takes to have a good life and career. It's the visual. Take care of yourself, sleep enough, don't take things too seriously, laugh a little, meditate, be kind to your loved ones, show compassion, avoid short-term gratification, etc. There's nothing complicated about that. Most of us are good at creating a plan, but we lack stamina. So what happens? We struggle. Why am I feeling down? Why am I stuck in my career? Well, you know what it takes. You just need some stamina to pull through. Now we just need to figure out how to improve our stamina. Actually, we don't need to figure out anything. This is something you know as well. How do you improve your physical stamina? What do runners do? What do athletes do every day of their lives? That's right, they train idly with a master coach or someone who's been there. Marcus Aurelius once the most powerful man in the West, humbly said, mastery of reading and writing requires a master. He might have talked about a skill like writing, but this is true when it comes to everything. We all need to train our skills and mind to improve our mental stamina. The good things about your detail age is that we don't have to know a master professional. You can learn from books, articles, course, podcast, etc. For example, one of the masters I have learned writing from is Williams Ginsner. She passed away in 2015 and I never met him, but I still studied with him through his book. The key is to train in a mindful way. Don't just learn things, turn everything you learn into an activity. For example, to train inner tranquility, meditate or go for a long walk without getting distracted by your thoughts. To become a better speaker, dictate your journal entires. To become a better writer, design your day in a way that's easy for you to write. You cannot expect to improve our to stay at a certain level without proper training. It's like eating, bathing, and breathing. It's a continuous practice. In in Ernest Hemingway also knew that the secret to becoming better is to train. He once said, "It's none of their business that you have to learn to write. Let them think you were born that way. It's a secret that's not a secret. We all know what it takes to become better. We need to execute. Once you have improved, people will look at you and think, wow, this person got their shit together. Note that you have trained yourself to get to that point. Letter number 34, on trying to become stronger every day. When I started writing online, I looked at people who had 100,000 followers on social media or in their newsletter and thought, wow, their writing career must be so much easier than mine. This type of thinking is common. I have heard it from many friends and colleges. We often look at one particular thing, what someone has, and assume that their entire life must be so much better than ours. If I had a bigger house, I would be so much happier at home. If I had a better car, I would visit so many places. If I have 500,000 followers, I would post more content. But how do you know for certain that life will be so much better when you acquire something? Will life be any different if you have 100k followers? I can tell you from personal experience that my life is not any different than 5 years ago. Look, things are certainly easier when you have more money, reach, or a bigger network, but those things usually come because you have done the work. When you leave out the people who are born into wealth or status, you see that money or recognition usually comes because a person did something. For example, when you build a successful business, you usually make a lot of money. When you are really good at a particular skill, you are handsomely rewarded for performing the skill. When you can entertain people so well that they forget about the problems in their lives or teach them something crucial, maybe you will amass a lot of followers. We tend to focus on the rewards, the money, recognition, followers, status, but when we do this, we forget the action that leads to the rewards, building the business, mastering the skill, researching the entertainment. This is something we all know, but here's an even more important thing: the real reward you acquire is not the money or status, it's the energy, pride, and sense of accomplishment you get from performing the action. Let me tell you why I started writing and why I am still writing every time I write something I am passionate about. I feel fantastic when I am writing, and also when I am finished writing. It's difficult but satisfying work. To me, this is the real secret to living a happy, energetic, and good life. It's about finding those activities that you love and that improve your life. Seneca's recommended doing something every day that improves you and giving it all your attention. Each day require something that will fortify you against poverty, against death, indeed against other misfortunes as well. And after you have run over many thoughts, select one to be thoroughly digested that day. Can we honestly say we are doing that every day, or are we getting distracted by the shiny things we see, the number of followers, expensive car, big house, fancy jet set lifestyle, or blue check mark on social media? Those are not things we should look at for happiness or satisfaction. We should only look at the action that usually lead to good things. And even if you aim to become the best at your job but don't get famous, so what? At least you do what Seneca said. You are acquiring skills and strength that will strengthen, so you take on the challenges of life. That's worth more than money or fame. Letter number 35, on being forgiving towards yourself. I just come back from a 3 week trip to Barcelona. I planned to stay in the city for longer, but I decided to cut the trip short because I started having stomach pain. Instead of pushing through the pain, I come back home to the Netherlands to see my doctor. I probably catch a stomach virus or bacteria. While the trip at Barcelona was good, it was also stressful. I had planned it full of activities and tasks because I wanted to see whether I could live there. I put a lot of pressure on the trip to succeed. I wanted to discover different neighborhoods, look at apartment, connect with locals, and also keep up my normal habits like working out, running, and writing. When my stomach pain started popping up after 2 weeks in Spain, my initial response was one of self-criticism. Why did you plan so much stuff? Why did you book an apartment that's so far from the neighborhood you actually like? Thoughts like this are useless, but we all have them. The truth is, we are not perfect genius who do everything flawlessly. We make mistakes. Life throws us curveballs. Is not that the nature of life? Stomach pain is not new to me since I have irritable bowel syndrome, which is often inconvenience and sometimes pain, but usually fine to live with. But when I experience stress, good or bad, I have more gut problems, so I have even more inactive to manage stress. But I am still human and experience stressful situations. No matter what you do, you will always have problems. If you are rich, you have rich people's problems. If you have a job, you have employed people problems. If you are self-employed, you have self-employed problems. Same with relationship. Single people complain about being alone. People in relationship complain they don't have enough personal space.